Hi everyone. Good to see you. I saw already so many messages. Before we get started, let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me, if we're technically okay, because I can switch some things up. And then we're going to take it nice and slow. We're going to officially start 3 after the hour. So, get settled, get something to drink. You don't have to write down anything if you don't want. Today is all about answering your questions. And telling you a little bit more about the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life. And we'll take it from there. So let me check this. Okay. I think there's a delay. I see people from Netherlands, Maryland, Ecuador. So awesome. Hi, Lauren. I wrote you up all in the beginning already. I'm glad I can help. So great to see you guys. So Fatima says she has a question. Guys, one thing for before we start, if you have questions, write it with a Q in the beginning, because I know a lot of you are talking to each other and saying hi, and I really, really appreciate that. But if you have a Q in front of your question, it will be easier for me to, get to it. And so this is, hi Batisha. So Batisha is here. She's a bootcamp alumni, so to say. It's lifetime access. So once you're part of it, you automatically enrolled in every future bootcamp. That's included in the price, of course. So Batisha is one of the INFJs that have been, I think, for a couple of years now, or at least a year. And we have a lot of INFJs who just keep coming back because, no matter where you're at in your journey, we take it from that step and just elevate to the next level. And, that's a really big sign for me. See, Batisha writes benefit each time. Thank you so much. Yeah, so that's my whole thing. That's why I'm so excited about this, and that's why I'm raving about this, because I see INFJs keep coming back. They see results, and so this makes me very happy. And that's why I know my work is really being used and is helpful, and it's been developed for a couple of years. As I said, we'll start 3 after the hour, so I'm just rambling a little bit, but we're definitely going to get not only to your questions, but we're also going to get a little bit into the material, because I want you to know what the INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp is all about, what the 5 pillars are about, and and so whatever isn't clear yet, that it becomes clear, because we all have the right to step into our greatness, and this is one way to do that. So let me know, guys, because I haven't seen it, what's with the technical stuff. Can you see me? Can you hear me all right? Is there a delay? But I think nobody said anything, so I assume everything is good, hopefully. Hi, INFJ Thoughts, also a boot camper. Hi. Catherine. Yeah, great, I can help. Perfect, guys. Okay, yes, everything's fine. Great. So let me just give you an overview. You're crystal clear. Perfect. So we've been doing bootcamp for a couple of years now, and the way it developed, I've been doing YouTube since 2014. It all started with my personal transformation, and my life really changed dramatically, and it really started changing the instant I made some shifts. And it changed way before I saw things change in the real world. But I knew my mindset was different, and things just started changing, and I was happy from one day I wasn't and one day I was, not because I've reached my goals, not because I had reached my goals, but because I knew, oh, that's what I wanted and I'm going for it. And I finally found my my drive and my excitement for life. I woke up and I was excited about my day. And so it all started with YouTube, and then I did one-on-one coaching for INFJs, and I saw what worked for other INFJs. There's so much that we have in common. every one of us is different, but there are certain strategies that, work for INFJs. I'm not saying these are the only ones, but these definitely work. And so it's all about understanding what works for an INFJ. What do we need? Like, one of the things we talk about is, for example, physical energy management, because we need energy. Like, in order to step out of that hamster wheel and create that INFJ epic life, we need physical energy, like, SE, as in our latest, like our last function. And to say, okay, I don't have that much of that, but I'm going to utilize as much as I can. And then I'm going to prioritize what steps to take in order to move my life forward. And if you're curious, watch one of my earlier videos. Like, watch one of my videos from 2014. My husband, just by chance, watched one today. And you can see it in my voice. I'm like, my energy is like really, really small. I'm speaking very quietly and all of that. And I thought I was already giving so much of me. And so just by seeing that, you will see what a difference in energy that is. And so it's not that you have to say, oh, the energy I do have as an INFJ is limited to some sort, because no matter what, if you create a life that's more and more in alignment with who you are and like what is good for you, you remove all the things that are, tearing you down. You continuously add things to your life that bring back energy to you. And you like keep growing exponentially and keep creating things that you always wanted. Like, it really can happen. And if you want like a great example, just watch one of those videos and you'll see a big difference. So I will, I'll start and look into your questions and, give you a little bit more insight into the bootcamp. I saw some question before, I don't know who it was, that asked, like, you already signed up for the waiting list, like, what now? Every one of you should have received an email, at least one, but like, there are multiples, with the early bird code that you can use until Monday. So you get $100 off if you decide to join. You can join until Saturday altogether, because Saturday we have our first live call and we don't have late admissions. So you can join until Monday, you can join until Saturday, but if you join until like Monday, so 2 days from now, for 48 hours, you get a discount. And if you join within this hour, you see it here in the live ticker, you also enter to win one of 3 audio guides. So this is just, information that you can use. And if you need the links, they're all in the description. And now let's jump into the content. So let's see what you got here. I'll just start looking into some questions. Okay, let's see. I just saw some, but... So Daniela said, oh, here. Lovely to see that. I'm happy that is. But if you have like additional questions, hi, Linda. I saw you earlier already. Okay, here we have one. Okay, so Iman says, I set my vision and what I want in life. And I take small steps every day to make that vision true. If I kept doing that, can I reach my goals as an INFJ to my epic life? Yes, definitely. Yes. The point is just like to decide what kind of goals are we going for. So the last thing anybody like would tell you that would be right is that, we as INFJs, we all have the same goals and you need to do those certain things in order to be happy. That's definitely not the case. But what you will recognize is the more abundant you get, the more you'll see that there are certain areas that you need to look into. Meaning, let's say you're not happy with your job, and then you find a job that you like, and then you also improve your relationships. And so things start getting better. At some point, you'll get to this place where it's like, oh, but what about my gift? What about my purpose? What about my, vocation? Like, a lot of INFJs say, oh yeah, I'll push this off till later. We as INFJs, like, this won't stay hidden for too long. For other types, it might be something that, never never comes up. Like, maybe like when they're already really successful, that they start thinking about like their purpose. For us, it will come up sooner than later. So this is one thing. On the other hand, if you have like, even you're working on your gifts, but you're not really, or you're working on your goals, but you're not really looking into relationships, and so you're not like, you're working against yourself because your relationship dynamics are holding you back and they're tearing you down and like draining you. You know, you can work towards your goals, but they might happen rather slowly. The same thing goes with physical energy management. If you don't work on, you know, as I said, minimizing things that drain your energy, improving things so you have more energy, you're not going to, you know, go in the pace that you want. We don't need to like create something like out of the ordinary in one day. As I said, like once you've set that vision, but if you don't have enough momentum, you might, you know, get like lose track or get bored or, you know, lose hope. The good thing about like bootcamp, for example, is we also have a Facebook group. And so even when bootcamp is not happening, we do this 4 times a year. You know, people are on there, they're sharing their transformation, they're sharing what they're doing this week. And so there's always an accountability there. But generally speaking, everybody would say that, right? I have a vision, I take steps towards that. Am I going to create that life? Yeah, at some point, of course. But the question is, are you really choosing things that are like, is this really what your core wants? Or is it maybe something that you think is going to make you happy? And then once you get it, you're like, was that really it? And so the thing I always tell like all INFJs is, do you wanna, like when you wake up in the morning, are you excited about the day? Do you feel like life is happening outside of you, or are you part of it? Are you in control? If you feel like it's happening outside of you, I always used to say like, I'm behind a window. You haven't really tapped into it. You're still playing within a box and not tapping into, you know, the things that are really going to make you feel alive. So that's like a general question, like general answer, I would say. So, so what do we have here? I don't want to miss any. Okay, so here we have another question. Okay, so Rob says, how do I deal with narcissistic people? I still get pulled down with emotions, dealing with some and trying to balance that and keep progressing. So the main thing, and this is, as you can imagine, also something we talk about in pillar 2, relationship management, but also in pillar 1, physical energy management. There are 2 things to do. On the one hand, we need to slowly minimize the contact with those narcissists, but that's easier said than done. The second thing, and this is what really makes the difference for INFJs, is to understand if our narcissist has a lot of influence on you. What we have to do is just increase our energy, right? So let's say you're here and a narcissist has just more energy because they're feeling something. Most INFJs are really like disconnected from their emotions. So we're numbing ourselves down. And so when you numb yourself, you absorb everything. Like I remember feeling like no matter what happens outside of me, I feel everything. And narcissists have really strong emotions that they're putting out there. So you're going to get confronted by this one way or another. There's no, like, what do you want to do about it? There's not really something that seems that can help you, because no matter what you do, they have more energy than you. But if you start choosing yourself more often and you say, okay, I'm doing things that remove step-by-step things that are draining me. I choose situations, jobs, relationships, and so on that I can control to some extent, and you slowly increase your energy, you're going to have more energy than the narcissist. You're going to start choosing you. And so you start filling yourself up. Like one example that I like to give is when I was younger, I knew absolutely everything about my best friend. I was so, absorbing everything that she was going through just in case, like just so I didn't have to deal with my own stuff. And once I learned, okay, I have to teach myself to learn what I want. It started with simple things like we were going to the movies and I was always like, oh, let's watch what you want to watch. And then I was like, no, if I had to choose, because I thought like, I really don't care. But I had to learn myself. I had to teach myself. What if I had to make a choice? What would it be? So when you start asking yourself questions like this, You recognize, oh, there is something I want. And when you start understanding that, you start going towards that. And when you start going towards that, you automatically like increase your energy and your abundance. And you start like, it really starts, like a snowball effect. That's why I'm saying, like, check out one of my earlier videos. You will see the difference in energy. Okay, so Brent says, can you give an example of an into individual or on a specific journey? Example of or you mean of an INFJ? Maybe, let me see. You mean like if I can give like people, what do you mean? Like people have started new professions, people have started working on on their podcast, people have changed their relationships. If that's what you want to know. Like there is no, because that's the whole thing. That's what I meant when it started. Like for me, it's not like you change your life from one day to the other. What changes is that oh, now I'm actually taking steps. I thought about it so far, but I haven't really started doing anything. And once oh, you're on that path, you're actually taking the steps in order to go towards your, whatever you want, it feels differently. It feels like you're in control. You start focusing on the things that you can control. You understand that you start with the basis of like, this is where my life is. I'm not going to disconnect from reality anymore. I'm going to accept that this is where I am. This is the apartment I live in that I don't like, maybe. These are the relationships I might not be happy with, but that's what it is. And then like really asking yourself the question, what if it never got any better? Because this question like is really important for INFJs, and I really haven't found that it works so well for other types, but for INFJs it works perfectly, because we very often dissociate from reality because there is like some alternative reality that is better. And so you never start growing from where you're at. The only way to really grow from where you're at is to accept what is. And a really great way for INFJs to accept what really is to ask yourself, what if it never got any better? What if you always stayed in this apartment? What if, your friends never got any better? If like this is the life you're going to live until the rest of your life, and it's never going to get more exciting or better, anything like this. And very often this hits you really strongly. And then, what you do is you feel it. Like you feel the grief. Like, oh, like I grieved the life that I thought I could have, that sort of thing. Because what happens is you actually, you feel it, and then you start to heal it, and then you start accepting what is. And then you can start like being grateful for everything that you've done so far to create the life that you have. 1 second. And then like once you're there, that's the moment when you start building from that, because then you recognize, okay, I can't wait for something external to happen that's going to make my life perfect. No, I'm going to like, this is where I am. And from here, I'm going to go towards the goals that I'm setting. There's not like some, alternative reality where I can hide just in my head, because very often we think that's the solution. But the problem with this is like, it doesn't make us happy. Like we've all tried it. We thought like, oh, it's enough. But the bigger the discrepancy becomes between the life that you think you can have in your mind, because that's where your potential lives, and what is currently happening, the more depressed you get, the more unhappy you get, and the more sluggish we get, the more we procrastinate, because we don't see a way out of there. And there is a way out of there. We just have to start taking action. And we have to be really, really aware of what is in our mind and what is reality. Like that's something that's rather difficult. Like one of the things I always say is it an externally observable fact? So many INFJs say, oh, but I've been working on myself and I've done a lot of, research, and just there's so much going on. Like I see my growth, and I understand that, and I know that we love this, and I never want to keep you from that. But the things that are going to make a difference is externally observable facts. Like the unromantic things, once a week I, apply for 3 jobs. Once a week I have like an uncomfortable conversation with somebody in order to set some boundaries. those kind of things. And you'll see the more you do those unromantic, hard, externally observable things, so things that, you know, somebody else could really say, oh, you really apply, like you really apply to those 3 jobs, not like, oh, I went through a lot of things in my mind. The more you do that, you actually will have more time to daydream. You will have more time to be in your own world and really enjoy everything. But we have to start with those, you know, steps. And as INFJs, I read it somewhere, somebody wrote this as well, we don't have to do all the things, but we have to do the right things. So let me just see what I have here. Let me see. Aren't we live? I thought they were live, right? It just looked to me like it was an unlisted, but we're live. Yeah, okay. Okay, so Melanie says that, like, you know, just bootcamp we do 4 times a year, just as like an info. Okay, so Marina says, what is bootcamp about? Is it a meeting? Yeah, she's been on Spotify for 2 years. Bootcamp is pretty much live streams like this is one part of it, but only in our small group, and we go through each one of the pillars. And then additionally, we have, you know, a lot of video material, enough that you can like go through it in a week. There are assignments that you can do. We work a lot with like setting up schedules. So it's a whole concept, and it's a community. It really is a community. A lot of people are in our Facebook group, but it's not a necessity. But I know for a lot of INFJs, sometimes it might feel a little scary if you think, oh, it's group coaching and everybody has to see everyone. It's like this. It's just smaller, more intimate, and way more, you know, where we're going really deep. Like we're really talking about, okay, you know, let's go into pillar 1. What was your experience last week? So we separate it. What we do is, you know, let's say we kick it off with pillar 1. We talk about what it's all about in theory, and then you get to apply it for a week. And like really, like we talk about, okay, you have to be able to put it in your schedule, you know? And so what everybody sees is, oh, I thought it would go one way, but if I now apply myself, I see it's different. And this is like a great way to experience how our mind works once we start taking action towards what we want, that it's different than what we thought. And so the next time we go back and we say, okay, now let's look into this week. What didn't happen the way you thought it would? How are we going to adapt that? So the first week we talk about how's it in theory. The second one we talk about how is it in practice, like how is it in reality? And then the same week we also take time to say, okay, now let's kick it off with the next topic. Try it out for a week, watch the videos, do the assignments. You know, there's nobody, like the assignments is if you want to, like there's no pressure. You do it at your own pace. You choose what you want. Like my whole thing is we are going to take small steps that make big impacts. We're not going to overwhelm ourselves. This is not about like working out 5 times a week and adding this and this. No, it's about seeing how you can actually change your identity. As in, oh, I'm somebody who goes to bed at 2 o'clock, and now I want to be somebody who goes to bed at 10 because this is the kind of energy difference that like you will see, and that it doesn't require discipline, that it's not about willpower, but that it just becomes part of your identity because it, like, you know, we're taking it step by step. Like those are the kind of things we learn about. So Ruth says, how do you hold on to being yourself in every situation? I feel like sometimes I don't say everything I'm thinking because I rather prioritize keeping the conversation small and not heated. So I think first off, you don't have to let everybody know everything. Like that's not even about being authentic. Not even in my opinion, like the difference that I've experienced. The difference is that you're not hiding anything anymore. So I remember I didn't want to combine friendship groups because I didn't want those people to know that I was actually okay with that group, or that I had certain opinions that I openly discussed with one person, but I didn't want another person to know, right? That doesn't mean that when you're with the second person, you have to tell them everything you think about a certain topic, knowing that they have different opinions, but you're not going to hide it anymore. Like that's the difference. And actually, when you start, choosing yourself more and more, you start taking steps to get out of the norm, your energy exponentially increases. And the bigger it gets, the easier it is to stay firm in those situations. And the more often you actually let those people know, like the things that you are about, but you know that they won't like, the more it's going to be easier for you to stay in your authentic self, because you don't have to walk on eggshells anymore. Like, I'll give you an example. I have a friend who's very dear to me, and years ago I was really into posting music on Facebook, like songs that were really important to me, like that really motivated me. And I'm talking about like 6 or 8 years ago, and but I knew that she would react harshly about it, because they weren't, like, they just didn't represent everything that she wanted to the content of them. But I liked the music because of the energy. Like, I wasn't even thinking about, oh, is this politically correct, or whatever it may be. And so I posted it knowing she's going to see this, and I said, like, she has to know this is what I'm about. And if she doesn't like it, then that's the way it should be. But I'm not going to hide it anymore, because it just takes too much of your energy to keep yourself small and hidden. And it's a process with everything that you do. So just being more open about what you really like, and it really starts with you knowing what you really like. And so when she approached me about it and said, like, how can you do this? I was like, well, for me, it's about the energy. That's what I feel at that moment. This really excites me. This keeps me going throughout the day. And so I let that sit. Because if you really think about it, how many people you have in your life that do things that you wouldn't necessarily do, but you still like them, you still want them in your life? We're being that kind to everybody else, but we don't think we deserve others to be that kind to ourselves. So that's, those are definitely ways to do it. We have to confront uncomfortable feelings. There's no way around it, right? There's really, really no way around it. So, let's see. So, Clay says, I have been job hunting so I can move out, and I don't have a real go outside of that. My creativity has been stifled while living in a small town. What can I do to bring out the best in me? Start with the job. Like, seriously, that's all. Like, my whole thing is, if everything is too much, start with one thing that will change where you're at currently. Because what I always say is, if you start climbing a mountain and it's even the wrong mountain, you will have a better view from there. You will know what the best next step is. So besides that, you could start with generally speaking, if you were, for example, in the bootcamp, we would first talk about like increasing your energy. How's your sleep? How is how's your house? Is it cluttered? Is it just to improve the energy that you do have? And then we look into, okay, how are your relationships? What are you doing in order to get a job? Have you decided what is going to be in alignment with who you are? Not what you think, what kind of job you would get, but to actually go towards things where you are being appreciated. And it's not about finding the ideal thing. It's about finding something that increases your energy more than your current situation, drains you less than your current situation. And the more steps you take, the easier it's going to be. Because imagine this. Let's say you have an energy level of 2 out of 10, as an example. So if you go to a job that gives you more energy altogether, by more money, because people respect you more, whatever it may be, you're already at a 3 or a 4. Having an energy of 4, you're first off more aware of what is possible. And second of all, you have much more energy to take the next step. So it's about creating all of that to decide, where do you want to live? You don't want to live in a small town. So what is the goal? Where do you want to live from what you know currently? Doesn't mean this is where you have to end up. It's just we have to set a goal. And then we have to, as INFJs, we have to make it really small. We have to create SMART goals. And then to say, okay, I'm an INFJ. We don't have to do thousands of things, but just small things that are going to make a big difference. And if you start saying you're looking for a job, for example, then start looking for a job somewhere outside of your town. When you get that, you start looking for an apartment that is the most in alignment with what you want and that you can afford at that time. And then you move up. You start, okay, now I want to add relationships to my life. So there's a lot in that process. And a lot of INFJs say, I don't know exactly what I want. And the point is to say, okay, what do you know? Clay, for example, knows that he wants to get out of the small town, and he knows that he wants to get to a better, have a better job, right? So these are things you do know. So if you improve those things, I guarantee you, once you're in that position, you have new information coming into your system. Like the way an INFJ works, like it's, NI is all about what information are you putting in. If you're always in the same circumstance, you cannot, there's nothing's going to change. You need like something new in order to put new information in your mind so you can then analyze and say, oh, now I have new information, so I can create like, what is the next vision? What is the next step? And the more you just know what is the next right step, and you have the experience that every single time you take that step, oh, it gets better. And not only does it get better, but I also then know what to do. Like I trust that I will know what the next best step is once I'm there at what I know. And every single one of you knows at least one thing you want to improve in your life. Let's start with that. So, okay, Barb, yes, this session will be available to watch again. This is, you can you can watch this on YouTube on my channel. This is public, right? It seems like here it was unlisted, but this isn't unlisted. I hope so. No. Okay, so Colleen says, is social anxiety a common trait with INFJs? Also, is tripping over words during important conversations such as interviews connected to being an INFJ? This is I think something everybody struggles with. Not just INFJs. Social anxiety has really a lot to do with the fact how comfortable you are with yourself. And a lot of people are not comfortable with themselves, not just INFJs. But, we can work on it, and we have a lot of experience on how to make that happen. How to change that. Because it doesn't, the same things that work for other types might not work for INFJs and vice versa. And you'll see, with us, it's really facing those uncomfortable feelings, but facing them at a level, I always say, we want to get out of our comfort zone, but we don't want to overwhelm ourselves. We want to go towards those, doesn't feel good, but I'm doing it out of control, as in, I know that once I stay in this feeling, it will go away, and then I never, ever have to deal with it again. And really at a point where you can still handle it. And so tripping over words, I don't know. I've done this. I know I do this. I don't think every INFJ does that. But, it might be something that other INFJs struggle with as well. Okay, so Vaplaman says, I spent a decade thinking I was an INFJ. Now, as I'm nearing retirement, I've been professionally typed as INFJ and finally feels comfortable. What does your class offer for someone older? So believe it or not, we have a lot of people who are over 60. We have a lot of people who are retired because a lot of INFJs know, this is not something, life doesn't end, when you're 30 or anything like this. This is what I like most about my community altogether, not just on YouTube, but as I said, over here, we have people who are in their mid-20s, and we have people I think we have somebody in their 70s as well. So there is everybody, and we have, people from all around the world. And we talk about what makes sense for you at this time. There is no, you're looking for jobs, and that's the only thing we're talking about. It's really about you finding where to look and what steps to take to improve your life where you're at right now. And this is really, there is no INFJ age that is accepted, or that this works for or not. So this is really something our community is very broad when it comes to age. And like, as I said, like people from different backgrounds, different educational levels, like we really see a lot of a mixture, and we're still like really helping each other every way we can. So Emmett says, I'm emotionally getting drained no matter how much I try to bring someone close to me for emotional support. At least one person with whom I can grow together at full pace. This really has to change. It's like you wait for somebody that can go with you, and that's really not going to happen like this. And like I want us all to get to this place. Like you can feel much better than you feel now, but you're not going to find the solution where you're looking for it. So many INFJs think I need to find one person and they're sort of going to be my solution. It really doesn't work like this, because the way we connect with others so often is we're focused on them. We hollow ourselves out, and then we absorb so much of their energy, and we have to build up our own energy. And when you do that, like you see, I'm actually growing on my own. Like I'm expanding in every way that I can think of. And then I think of who can I add to my life that will add to my energy. And if they're not adding to my energy, I'm not accepting them in, specifically in a close relationship. Like you will have people in your life that you really, really like and love, but they're psychologically a little bit more distant. Like I have people, like friends of mine, that are really, I really like, but there is a psychological distance, because I say people who are allowed closer to me, they have to add to my energy. And if you're really being strict about it, you will find those people. The reason why these things keep happening is because we still allow, people to enter our inner worlds that they're not adding to our energy. And the reason for this is because if we're not building on our energy, every single thing that we see seems like exciting, because there is positive, but there's also negative. But the more you start building, the less you're going to need that external thing, and the more you can set those boundaries, and the more you learn what you want, and it really happens more automatically. So that's like mainly what I can tell you. So if you've been doing the same thing forever and ever and ever, and it hasn't changed, that's a good sign to change the approach. And I know, like, I've been there, I've done that. I know I've done this myself. This is not like a blame thing. This is just experience and knowing that, that's just how it goes. Let me just check something real quick. Okay, we're good. So, what else do we have? Okay, so Jeff says, do you think journaling is useful for INFJs? Journaling was really my solution for like the first year when I did my, all my transformation. It was really, really important, because we have so much in our head. If you have a way to get it out one way or another, it just becomes more clear. First off, and second of all, you pretty much make your own voice more important. If you do that, it's like you're anchoring in your voice in your life. You're anchoring in your voice in your life. This is super important. So I found that this is really, really helpful. That being said, it's not enough. It really isn't enough. This is the typical thing of, I'm, thinking about a lot of things. I'm, working on myself. Really important stuff. And I would never tell you not to do this, but we're going to do those things anyway. We're really good at it. Like, this is the INFJ thing to do. What we need to do additionally, though, is do those steps, like real world action, making things happen slowly, consistently, and like in those areas that really matter to you. And we're really going to look like, okay, what do you want to do in your physical energy management area? We don't have to do all the things, just like pick one or two. Like, those are the kind of assignments. Like, what are you going to do this time? What relationship do you want to work on now? Like, what is the thing you can do? Is it work relationship? Is it friendships? Is it like a family member that, really crosses your boundaries all the time? And so step by step, you start taking action. You think about your wealth management, right? You really look at it and say, okay, this is what I want. This is what I have. This is how I'm going to get there. And so you have your inner life and you let it all out through journaling, for example. But then you start taking those steps and your reality changes, and therefore you have new information that you could put into your system. We need to get like so much of that out, what is already in our mind, that is not allowing us to have like a clear thought of where we're going. So that is what journaling is all about. But then we have to take the action in order to have like new things to put into our mind that can help us create like the vision for the next step. So okay, somebody said we're live. Thank you. Learn Japanese on live. Thank you so much. Samana says, I read in many places that an ENFP is naturally the greatest possible partner friend for an INFJ. What do you know? What are my views on it? So I don't believe that's the case. And that being said, I don't think that ENFPs are not great partners. I just believe like now, I believe every single person can be the best partner for an INFJ as long as we're working on ourselves. When I was younger and I hadn't worked on myself, I was really looking for, something that complements me. So it was ESTPs, ENFJs, even like at some point I had like ENTJs in my life because I was so addicted to that SE because I didn't want to take care of it. Now that I have, started creating my life and I do this, my partner is an ISTJ and I'm very, very happy. And you can there's anywhere that you will read that that's a good combination. So, but it works because I know, I know who I am better than I used to. I would never be that naive to say, oh, I found myself and everything. Like, I'm sure in 10 years, I will have hopefully gone through a lot of growth, but I know now why I was attracted to a lot of types. Oh, that's my solution. That's going to make my life exciting. That's a person who finally understands me. But when you when you start that process, you become so you are creating that exciting life for you on your own. And it's fine. You get to a place where you say, everybody who adds to my life in one way or another, who makes me, happy, secure, excited, whatever it may be, and is like a good partner who treats you well, who listens to you, who takes time out of their day for you. It's not just what you can do for them, but it's really a partner at eye level. There is no project or anything like that. It's really game changing. So that's my whole thing. I've done videos on INFJs and other types years ago. If you're interested in that, you can just look through my channel, my other videos. Just do when's this ENFP, for example, and then okay. So Christopher says, is the bootcamp recorded for us? If we join, I know we get lifetime access, but I would need to get future and past recordings as well. Yes, you get all everything from the moment you have joined. Also the later ones, they're all recorded. They're all there. It's just naturally you would have to ask me in order to find out all the links for you. But all the starting from the moment you join and everything in the future, you will have access to all the recordings, because it's a live stream, but it's an unlisted live stream. So only if you have the link, you can watch it. And then it's there, it's on YouTube, it's in the library. It's just you only have access to them with the link, and you get the links once you're in boot camp. We send it out 24 hours before each call. And then it's also in the platform, in the teaching platform. So, there are, I've recorded videos for you on every topic, on every under topic. So when we're talking about physical energy management, we have 5-6 videos on there talking about the different, areas and steps and so on. And so on that platform, you'll also have not only the links for, the future calls, but once we've had it, you can watch the replay there. So yes, definitely. let's see what we have here. So which says, is the bootcamp interactive with you? Do we get to interact with each other? So it's like it is now, but as I said, we're a smaller group. It's more intimate, and people do talk to each other in the comments. And on top of that, and the best way to really communicate with each other is the Facebook group. And we do this like throughout the week. How's that week going? What are you doing on, you know, pillar 3, for example? Let's say we're doing wealth management as an INFJ. How's that going? So it is really a community. Like, we're helping each other. We're opening for each other. You can talk to me, as I said, not only through the live recording, but I am on Facebook as well. So this is like mainly to help each other. But if you have questions for me and I'm there, you know, I can help you as well. So yeah, that's how, like, I've really thought about what was the best way to do their interactions, as in like the live calls. And I found like really for INFJs, this is the best way, because that's how I would feel most comfortable. So if I want to, I can chat, I can ask my questions, but at the same time, I can still be not visible, right? I can be as relaxed as I want. And this is what was most important to me, that you feel comfortable, that you feel free, and so that you can absorb everything and still feel like you're part of the energy that is happening, and see that what others are going through, and how, you know, how it all works out together. So I get your questions again, Rob, but I shouldn't have, like, I know that there are probably questions from people who I haven't had yet, but sorry, I'll take that question first. Okay, so I always find it hard to balance work pressure and interacting with my colleagues. I work in tech, and my focus shifts to people's problems, what they have, and I lose productivity. Yeah, so that's, you know, those are the kind of things we talk about in relationship management. Like, one of the things is work relationships. Your coworkers don't have to be your friends. Like, you have to learn that. Like, and how do we do that? You find actually people that you can share what you want, and like maybe find an outlet how you can help people outside of work. We really have this as like, I add this to my life, something that gives me something where I'm being appreciated. So I know when I'm at work, you know, I take care of what I have to take care of. And those are not the places where I should like really be very open with my boundaries, if you know that you're not, like, this is not going in the direction that you want. I used to work, before I do this, I don't know if many of you know this, because I've been, you know, I haven't had a job in like 5 years now, but I used to do consulting in European banks at a really high level. So right, I was flying somewhere Monday, and I came back on Friday, and so on. And so everybody around me was, and of course, like, it was IT, so of course it was also tech. And those are the kind of people I work with, and people who are very, you know, really detail oriented, really good and stuff like this, and just not how I was. And I knew that if I would connect with those people too much, like, it just wouldn't be good for me, because I would absorb their understanding of what is right, what is wrong. And so I would just, you know, feel like, oh, the way I am is wrong, because I was different. And if you're in an environment like this, you can have huge success because you're different. If you lean into what you can do, but others can't. So if you're really good at, like, you know, solving people's problems, then solve the problems of your boss, solve the problems of your clients. Like, you know, create those relationships that maybe your coworkers cannot. So lean into this. And again, like, coworkers don't have to be your friends. And if you need a way to like bring out your gift, and this is also one of the things we talk about in vocation, you need to find like a healthy outlet for that. Like, it really made a difference for me once I had somewhere where I can put all of my energy into. That is, you know, with healthy boundaries. So I wasn't doing it with my closest people, but I knew, okay, this is like a healthy thing. And it's not too close to me psychologically. So Barb says, can someone who has purchased your audio guide be able to join the Facebook group? Also, will this session be available to watch later? I would love to review. Thank you. Yeah. So Barb, you can watch this. You can rewatch this. It's going to stay public. You can definitely see this. No, the Facebook group is only available for boot campers. So the audio guide is different, and it really doesn't have the community aspect to it. It is like, it's a do-it-yourself course, and so the bootcamp is really an ongoing community, and we continuously grow and work with each other. So this is definitely separate from that. And so, yeah, the Facebook is really solely for the boot campers. Let me see. Okay, so Susie says, how do I overcome fear of failure and push through difficult roadblocks? I observe myself holding back on important task projects, but can't seem to get out of my feels to take action. Smaller steps. That's what it is. For INFJ, smaller steps. Like, we've tried this over and over again, as in, I don't know what it is. Your fear of failure is probably about, speaking publicly or applying for a job or whatever it may be. It doesn't really matter. The point is that if you don't seem to take that step, you need to take a smaller step and not be embarrassed about it. For the longest time, everybody I know, including me, was like, okay, I can't take that small of a step because, like, what kind of loser am I if I have to do that small of a step in order to feel good? But what we have to understand is that there is no step that is too small. If you, for example, and this is nothing to do with fear of failure, but let's say you go to bed at 2 o'clock and you want to be somebody who goes to bed at like 10 o'clock. So many INFJs like say, okay, so now my goal is this week I'm going to go to bed, okay, not at 10, but maybe at 11:30. No, what I'm saying is go to bed at 1:45. Because it's not so much about the 15 minutes that you gain. It's about learning that if you set out a goal and you make it, your self-confidence starts building up. And you start understanding that it's more about learning where you're at and then improving upon that. That's way more important than to take some big steps. So if you keep telling yourselves, I should be able to go to bed at like 11 o'clock, but you don't, you're not going to make any progress. But if you understand, okay, I'm like really at 2 o'clock level, it's beginner level, that's what it is. If you once feel that and you heal that and you're okay with that, you're going to go to 1:45 and you're going to make this your new normal. It's not going to require any, willpower at some point. And then you continue, because then you've learned, oh, I know how my mind works. When I first started doing my videos, there was so much motivation I needed to get ready. Like, it was ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, I was able to take a shower. Yeah. And like, I really needed this. And so I could tell myself, like, why was that a big deal? But I had blocks. I just had blocks. It wasn't a problem to get ready on a Monday, but getting ready on a Sunday morning when I was there doing my videos was really hard for me. And so I accepted that. And I said, like, I'm not going to judge it. And I'm going to take small steps. And before you know it, you've made like some huge progress. So if you think like, oh, okay, but this small step isn't going to make the cut, it's not about the small step. It's about learning how to, change. Because once you learn how it works, it's like it becomes really easy after that. But it really has to start with that. And that's also something we practice in bootcamp a lot. To get rid of the fear of being too slow, taking too small of a steps. It's just not going to matter anymore once you understand that this way works perfectly fine. So Danielle says, I cut off contact with my narcissistic ex and now he is stalking me and gets really creepy. Should I still talk to him from time to time or keep completely cut off for good? So if it gets stalky, this is a matter for the police. So I can't tell you anything specific there, because like this is like a situation that seems like getting out of hand. You have to find like a medium that works for you. If it wasn't something that is like really you know, like something where we have to, you know, really worry about you, and I wouldn't want to say something that, you know, is going to get you in trouble. Normally, what I always say is this: keep building on your life, keep improving your energy, and step by step, take it away. Because like very often, like, you know, cut off the contact, because very often people say just cut off contact completely, forget about that person. Yeah, but we don't. Like, people tell us this, but we don't. And so what good does that do? If this hasn't worked, if you haven't been able to cut him off for good completely so far, then that option is off the table, no matter how much everybody tells you this or how much you would really like this, right? If you cannot do it, then slowly, you know, distance yourself and build yourself up more and more. And so that way you're going to have more and more strength to leave that person out of your life. You don't need that person in your life, right? So the only reason why that person is in your life, because psychologically there's a fear of what they might do, or that you feel like, oh, I can't be too mean, or whatever it is. So it's a twofold thing, but it really starts with you building yourself up, and that really happens from taking steps to improve your life. That's all I can tell you. But please, again, if it gets creepy like this, like, talk to somebody professionally. I don't want to advise you with something that I'm not, you know, equipped to handle. So, okay, hold on, I want to jump here a little bit, because we got like a super the sticker from, oh, it jumps so much. I'll find it. Here it is. Okay, so okay, I this is probably towards something else, but thank you. Okay, let me go back into the questions. Okay, so here we have, is there any specific way you use not to pick up on others' insecurities in daily life, or to pick up less? Yes, again, it really comes down to you building yourself up. It sounds like so cheesy and like, oh, what does that actually mean? Let me tell you this. When you are not building your life, but you're pretty much, okay, I'm staying in my, like, I don't have a bad life and it looks great on paper or good, but I know I'm not tapping into my potential. You absorb so much because you're like, let's say you have this void around you. You know, there's just space around you in general. And we as INFJs, like, we come with this void that people can just put their energy into. Like, we pick up everything. If the space around you is empty, you're going to pick up everything. You're going to go into a restaurant, you're going to recognize when somebody's in a bad mood, you're going to pick up on insecurities, you're going to feel others' pain, and it will feel like there is no way around it. That's just who I am. And very often, these are the things we read about everywhere. Like, there isn't, like there wasn't, like there is no other choice. That's not the case. The more you start filling this space up with your own energy, as in, I keep doing things that are good for me, I keep removing things that aren't good for me, and I really take real world action. So these are things I could actually tell somebody. Not that you have to, but if you want to make sure that this isn't just something that's going on in your head, could you tell this to somebody else? Yes, I applied for this job. Yes, I moved into a new apartment. Yes, I, you know, started my podcast or whatever it may be, or I started working on my book, or I started helping in this organization. The more you do that, the more you fill yourself up. And when you fill yourself up, this energy cannot really penetrate you. It really is that simple. And I can tell you this from being somebody who absorbed everything around me to now not feeling that. Like, it really, really changes. But you don't miss it because you've, like, you know, you've added so much of your own energy, and that just feels positive and happy and, you know, just peaceful, and you're in control of that. Okay, so Armin says, how do I get out of the habit of being impulsive, making decisions without thinking them through? So I still do this. Not to the extent that I used to, but I still do this occasionally. And this is a form of self-sabotage. It's like, you know, you want to overrun like so much in order to numb out some kind of uncomfortable feeling underneath, right? And so the way to do that is to say, how can I add things to my life that I will do, not impulsively? Like, how can I add things that are planned, that are executed, that improve my life more and more? And when you do that, the instances where you do make impulsive, decisions that aren't really thought through, they become less and less. And when you do them, you actually like recognize, oh, this is a form of self-sabotage. Let me, stay with this feeling. Because what happens when you make a decision like this, and you haven't thought it through, you only think about those decisions when something bad happens. Like if it works out really well, you wouldn't be asking this question. So you feel bad. And when you feel bad, you stay with this and you say, oh, okay, I'm going to use this. Now that I feel it, I'm not going to run away from it. I'm going to keep this feeling, and I know that this is actually my path to growth. Because the way I grow is I fail. And so you're going to stay with this feeling. You're not going to run away. You're going to feel all of this uncomfortable thing, and you're going to say, I'm going to feel it. I'm going to feel it until it like goes away, until I heal it. And when you do that, you have like, you'll see like huge differences. But just like take away the judgment, work on things that aren't impulsive, like add that to your life. And the impulsive things, when they happen, just accept them for, a form of self-sabotage. You stick with them. And the more often you have the more you build on this whole process, the less those things happen. They happen in smaller ways, and you can handle them, and you see them just as like part of the growth process and something that will help you in the future, because you're not running away from it, or you just like get upset and don't want to deal with it. You just said, oh, okay, this is something deeper. This isn't like some trait. No, this is something that I'm trying to run from. What is it? What was I afraid of? Why was I making that quick decision? What was so uncomfortable to sit with? And when you ask yourself this and then you sit with it, like a lot of new things can come up. Okay, so we're through with our time for today. Let me just see if I have something in general. Oh, I see Justine is here. Hi, Justine is also a boot camper. Yeah, I hope like this was really helpful for you. If you have some more questions, yeah, it's hard for me like to like answer more questions outside of this. As I said, once you join Bootcamp, there's a lot going on in the Facebook group, but it's not a necessity. So if some of you say, oh, Facebook group is not for me, if you have any technical questions or anything like logistically, any credit card issues or anything like this, write us at info@wences.com. Every other link is in the description. Again, like if you join now, or let's say in the next 5 minutes, you enter to win one of 3 audio guides. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wish you a great week, and I hope to see many of you next Saturday. Yeah, looking forward to it. Talk to you soon. Bye, guys.